I want to talk about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Game that I probably spent more hours playing than just about any NES game at the time. Although maybe Metroid, maybe Kid Icarus, maybe Tetris. But I have to say, I probably put more hours into Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Than just about any other NES game during my childhood. And a game that I absolutely love. And I wanted to kind of walk down memory lane with this game right now and think about how this game got made, some of the great levels, characters that you had to fight in this game, and some of the history of this game. Because if I had to pick on one hand the games that defined my childhood, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Would be on that first hand. And the many, many hours that my friends and I spent in the basement playing this classic game. And at the time, I was a huge Mike Tyson fan as well and would watch boxing on HBO with my dad. So this was an amazing tie-in between a heavyweight champion and a video game property. So I think this game is really fascinating and how it got made. First of all, if you went back to the arcade, and I don't know if you guys remember going to the arcade and seeing the original Punch-Out! So that's where Nintendo came up with the idea. Well, hey, this is a huge success at the arcade, the original Punch-Out!, which I think came out in 1984. So you could go to the arcade, you could play, no Mike Tyson at the time, but you could play the arcade game and called Punch-Out!, which was developed by Nintendo at the time. And it had a wireframe view of the boxing ring and the boxers, and it had a dual screen setup at the time to control the fighter. And it was really popular. It was a huge game in the arcades. It was a little bit before my time frequenting the arcades, but I do remember seeing it. And I remember wondering later on, like, where's Mike Tyson? Why is he not in this? And for a lot of people, I think you only think of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! You don't even think of Punch-Out! As the game. But to me, the ultimate edition of this game is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, trying to fight Mike Tyson at the end of the game, which was frankly impossible, save maybe a few people. And there was always whispers and rumors in the neighborhood of like, oh yeah, John beat Mike Tyson. Oh, did he? Really? But there was always rumors. I didn't know really anyone personally who'd ever beat Mike Tyson, myself included. I could get to him, I could get like one or two moves in on him, and then I was done, and he would kick my ass. There was no beating Mike Tyson. I heard rumors that people had fought to a decision against Mike Tyson and then won, but no one I knew, none of my friends actually beat Mike Tyson. I'd be curious. Let me know in the comments below. Did you know anyone who beat Mike Tyson? Maybe you did. Maybe you did, and maybe you're lying to yourself now, and in your foggy memory, you think that you beat him, but you probably didn't. So Nintendo saw the success of the arcade version of this game in 1983 and 1984 and into 1985. And then Nintendo said, you know what, we're going to make a home version of this for the NES. And Genio Takeda at Nintendo, this was his project, took on this project to turn this version of the arcade Punch-Out! Into a game that you could play on a home console, redoing the graphics, updating the gameplay mechanics, overall design, of course, to suit a home console experience, updating the music, and so forth. So a lot changed from the arcade version to the home console version. But then, of course, something was missing. Like, it's just Punch-Out! On the home console. We need a name. You know, we need a face with this. And what's amazing is the timing. So Mike Tyson, of course, had just become heavyweight champion. He fought against Trevor Berbick, and it was his first heavyweight title fight. He defeated Trevor Berbick in the second round, and he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history at the age of 20 years old. He became a sensation, of course. Here was this relatively short-looking guy with this amazing right hook punch that was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. So if you have your guard up, you have your hands up, all of a sudden Mike Tyson comes along with this devastating hook that comes down over your guard and hits you right in the face with such ferocity that it knocks you out. So he kept knocking people out in the second round, first round. So Nintendo had to get their hands on this right hook and have Mike Tyson be involved in this game somehow. Now, we don't know for sure, but there are reports that Nintendo only paid Mike Tyson $50,000 for the rights to have his name associated with this game. Can you imagine what a blockbuster of a game this was? Every friend I knew had this game. Everyone I knew had this game. Everyone was talking about it. It was all over the place. It was all the talk of the town, right? Imagine Nintendo sells oodles of this game, helps sell the NES console also, because I knew a lot of people that just wanted to get the NES console just to play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and they only paid him $50,000 according to reports. Now, he was young, and maybe he just made this decision willy-nilly, didn't give it much thought. A lot of young athletes don't have great people around them that are, of course, going to ink really smart contracts and deals. So $50,000 for his name on this game was remarkable at the time. Boy, did Nintendo land the deal of a lifetime. It sounds like a lot of those recording contracts, like the Beatles in the early days, these record executives who would get them to sign contracts, and the record companies would make all sorts of money and the Beatles would make no money. It's a tragedy, and that's kind of what happened with Mike Tyson. So Nintendo manages to get their hands on Mike Tyson. They revised the gameplay down from 2 screens to a 1-screen experience. They revised the mechanics, the music, the overall gameplay to fit on a home console screen. So totally different. They also revised some of the character names, which we'll get into in just a minute, which I always found fascinating. So the arcade version had ridiculous names like Vodka Drunkeneski.
Vodka Drunken.
Vodka Drunkeneski was the Russian guy. I mean, think about the Russophobia that was going through the United States at that time, or around the world, really. I mean, this came from Nintendo, right? So this was Japanese Russophobia. Vodka Drunkeneski. And then, of course, there's all sorts of stereotypes throughout this game. From Turkey, you have Bald Bull, and you have these other characters, of course, Piston Honda. And so you have making fun of Americans as well. So there's a lot of like funny stereotypes that I don't think they would ever be able to make a game like that today, this year. No way, absolutely not. They certainly got away with a lot of things back in the 1980s. So they updated Vodka Drunkeneski to be Soda Popinski, and they took out the idea of references to alcohol. So he was drunk on soda instead of alcohol, which is the 1980s, and the amount of soda that I drank in the 1980s is enough to kill a small horse. Now, thankfully, I don't drink any of that garbage. It's poison, but it's okay. I guess they thought it was better to have the poison of soda rather than the poison of alcohol. Pick your poison. So this game is released in 1987. It becomes a massive success. And then it happens that Mike Tyson is at the height of his success, of course, heavyweight champion, and the match to end all matches is about to happen. Tyson versus Spinks in 1988. My dad and I couldn't wait to watch that, of course, on HBO, and just unbelievable. It was going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and it was all the hype. I think it was called Once and For All was the name of the match. Once and For All, that's what they called it. Tyson, Spinks, and all of the training montages that we saw. How are these two fighters preparing for this amazing match? And then 91 seconds into the match,
Here comes Mike Spinks in. He leads to the right hand. Down he goes. I don't think you get up from this. Mike Spinks is laying flat on his back.
Mike Tyson knocks out Spinks. And that was it. People are like, what? That's it? It's over? You're done? Oh yeah, he was done. He was clocked out, done. So you have this amazing game at the same time he's the height of his career, knocking out Spinks in 91 seconds. It was an unbelievable experience. And so when you go through this game, if you just kind of relive some of these levels in this game, you start out with the minor circuit. So you're just trucking along. It's very, very easy in the minor circuit. And you're Little Mac. You play as Little Mac facing off against a few opponents, 3 opponents in that first minor circuit. Glass Joe, Von Kaiser, who's the German. So I love these stereotype names, you know. I mean, is it a stereotype that every German is Von Kaiser? I don't know, maybe. Who's Glass Joe then? Little guy from Brooklyn? He's the underdog guy? I don't know. Piston Honda. And Piston Honda, of course, is the very skilled Japanese boxer, right? Japanese game, after all. So he's the very skilled Japanese boxer. And I'm surprised Nintendo maybe didn't put him later in the game, but he's at the end of the minor circuit at the beginning. You start off fighting against Glass Joe, dealing with his like very glass jaw, very easy to beat. And the only time Glass Joe would beat you is like if you had to go pee, you had to go to the bathroom, and you came back and like Glass Joe was sitting there like punching you in the face. And like, Glass Joe is hitting me? Wait, that can't be. No way, Glass Joe shouldn't be able to hit me. Von Kaiser, he has a few special moves, really relatively straightforward to defeat him, pretty easy guy to defeat. And Piston Honda was a little hard. He had the special Honda Rush, but of course with a little practice. It was all about the timing, right? It was all about figuring out the timing and the moves of these guys. And now, of course, there's a whole world of people who do Mike Tyson's Punch-Out blindfold. They'll do blindfold competitions to beat the game. Imagine that. You're just memorizing the different moves of these guys, and you can do it all with a blindfold. I find that unbelievable. It's like trying to beat a Rubik's Cube with a blindfold on. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how people's brains work in that way. Next up was the major circuit. This was a lot of fun. After a little bit of training, a little training montage with a little break, grab some water, grab a soda, then you could be back for the major circuit. And this is where you got to fight Don Flamenco, who comes out, of course, with a flower. He's the flamboyant Spanish boxer. I guess that all Spaniards are supposed to be flamboyant and they dance around with flowers. He has got that quick dodge move, so he was a lot of fun, right? You just got to slow him down a little bit, and he's got all those little counter punch techniques, and timing and precision are absolutely crucial to be able to hit Don Flamenco. And the next up was probably my favorite in all of the game, and this was King Hippo. I loved playing King Hippo. King Hippo is a massive boxer from Hippo Island, and he has a weak spot on his stomach, which I absolutely loved. When he puts his arms up and you've got to hit him right in the belly, it was so much fun, and you've got to find the right opportunity to hit him in that stomach. Then another stereotype, and I guess King Hippo is probably not a stereotype, right? He's maybe one, I guess, is there a Hippo Island somewhere that I don't know about? Next up, though, is Great Tiger. Yes, I guess another stereotype from India, that every Indian, I guess, has a tiger, like a pet tiger. I don't know. I know that people get offended by this now. They're like, oh, you can't talk about that game because it's got so many offensive stereotypes. Okay, does it? I mean, are Indian people really offended that they chose this character as a cartoon character to have a tiger? Maybe. Okay, let me know. Let me know in the comments if you're Indian and you're offended by the Great Tiger. Anyway, yes, he's an Indian boxer. He's got a unique fighting style. He has a teleportation move, which I always hated. And he's got this whirlwind punch. I found this guy to be very, very difficult. And he makes him really challenging to anticipate where he's going to show up in the boxing ring. Then you have the world circuit. After more training, you're practicing, then you come back to fight 4 really tough matches. And these were a lot of fun. I loved playing against Bald Bull as well. Of course, he's the Turkish boxer. He's known for his bull charge. You better move out of the way of that. And I have to think, there's actually reminds me a lot of some of the flurry rush techniques that you do in some Zelda games, right? If you've got a Lionel who's about to do a bull charge right at you, you've got to do a flurry rush to get out of the way in order to strike. Kind of reminds me of that. Let me know if you think that that's a similar Nintendo technique, the bull charge. And then the last 3 characters in the game are all Americans, which I'm surprised Nintendo did it this way. But the next one up was Mr. Sandman. This guy is really, really tough. He's a tough American boxer, one of the strongest opponents in the game. He's fast, he hits really hard, and he has a whole variety of punches that really only skilled players can defeat at the time. So I know there's a lot of times I would play this game and I would maybe lose to Soda Popinski or I would lose to Mr. Sandman. So these were 2 guys that usually kick me out of the game right around this time in the game. Then you have Super Macho Man. Super Macho Man. And is this what they think of Americans? I'm offended that Americans are macho men. Hey, maybe in the 1980s they were. I don't know. Super Macho Man. So this guy was really, really tough. Again, if you get to the end of the world circuit before you fight Mike Tyson, fighting Super Macho Man is the final opponent, the most difficult. He's got a wide range of powerful punches. Good luck. This is where the game went from being a lot of fun, fighting people like Bald Bull and King Hippo, with punching him in the stomach and having some fun with him, to really, really difficult. Now you've got to be on your A game or you are going to be flattened like a pancake. And then finally to Mike Tyson, which again, I've only gotten to him, I think, a handful of times, and I've got beat every time. And really, really difficult. I mean, his defense is second to none. Good luck trying to land anything on him. And then when he does punch, of course, he's coming down with that right uppercut and he's going to knock you out almost instantly. And then you're done. And then you're done. You don't get to fight Mike Tyson again. You got to go back to the beginning. That's it. You're done. If you lose to Mike Tyson, your boxing career is over. Really, really difficult. Again, how many of you actually beat Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? And then, of course, later became Mr. Dream later on. Again, one of my favorite games of all time from my childhood, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Say it with me. It's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, not Punch-Out. You can take your Punch-Out version and shove it. No one wants Mr. Dream. Come on. We want Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. That's the real deal. If you like these kind of videos, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in another video. Bye, guys.